In Consumer Watch now, we have an encouraging update on a story that we told you about last month. Casey Roberts says that people around the country have stepped up to help her pay her medical bills. Now, Roberts, you may recall, was sued by an Alabama hospital for almost $37,000 after undergoing an emergency appendectomy. Anna Werner is here with how this story has evolved now. Now, this is part of your medical price roulette. That's and right. I remember I was stunned that so many people were being taken to court by hospitals. Yep. And you profiled her. And, you know, it took a lot to basically admit to the world, you know, this is the debt that I'm shouldering.
Yeah, absolutely. And thousands of people around the country are facing these medical lawsuits. We've heard from many of you since this story first aired about the bills that threaten your financial health. But for Casey Roberts, at least, there is now relief after a response she says she never expected.
I felt just overwhelmed. And I am so grateful for all this stuff that's came through. I've got letters from New York, from Wisconsin, from Nevada.
When we visited Casey Roberts and her husband Daryl at their small business in Alabama, a hospital's lawsuit for nearly $37,000 for an emergency appendectomy had them fearful they would lose their business and home.
I told my husband, I wish you to let me die.
Roberts went to Flowers Hospital in Dothan with an appendix that was about to burst. But without insurance, her bill came to over $52,000. Even with a so-called discount for uninsured patients, the total was still over $31,000. Not only could she and her husband not afford it, the bill stopped her from going to the doctor for examination of a large, painful lump on her shoulder.
I have not been to the doctor. I can't afford it.
But now,
this is from Laura from Maryland.
Since our report, people from around the country have reached out, sending cards and money, even offering medical treatment.
And I started hearing all the love. Believe me, for the first time, I could tell you in about 4 years, I slept with peace.
More important, Legal Services of Alabama, a nonprofit group offering free legal help to those in need, stepped in to fight Roberts' court battle for her.
This is a matter of life and death. This is a matter of being able to survive.
Attorney Christy Kirkland tells us after negotiations, Flowers Hospital has now dropped its demand from nearly $37,000 to just $5,000, minus what Roberts already paid. It's something Roberts finds shocking.
Do not try to force me to pay something that you know in your heart of hearts is blown out of proportion. Treat me like you would treat anybody. I expect you to treat me like I would treat you.
Flowers Hospital told us it cannot discuss individual cases, but says that it works with patients throughout the process. Now, just yesterday, a person who wants to remain anonymous stepped up to pay the remainder of Casey Roberts' bill. Now, if you want to share your medical pricing stories with us, go to cbsnews.com/health costs. You're going to see a share and or search and share button. Click on that button to share your prices with us. You can also email us at healthcosts@cbsnews.com. So, and here's the other update, is the anonymous donor who donated money to cover the balance of her bill also provided extra money.
For health insurance?
He left some extra money for her to get treated for that bump on her shoulder.
Right, that's amazing.
To see a doctor for that bump, which she still doesn't know what it is, and she hasn't gone to the doctor because she already had these overwhelming bills, and she said, I know I'm going to get a bill and I can't pay for it.
Right. So faith in humanity restored.
Yeah.
That being said, there are still many people who are still facing lawsuits. Flowers Hospital has sued more than 1,500 people. We don't know if it's all over medical bills.
But we think it is. Every single one that I went in and looked at in the court system, I could not find a single one of the ones I reviewed. And I reviewed maybe, I don't know, a couple hundred of them just as a starting point.
Yeah.
Every single one that I saw that I was able to review was over a medical collections
Do we know
issue.
how common this practice is?
It's very common around the country nowadays. There are any number of hospitals around the country who are suing people over medical bills. And, you know, the thing about this medical bill is this is for somebody who goes in, doesn't have insurance. So they're basically charging the full bore price. Yeah. You know, you and I with insurance, we're never going to see a bill of that number. You're going to see on your explanation of benefits the quote-unquote original or rack rate price might have been $40,000, for example. And then it'll show where your insurance adjusted negotiated rate that they, they negotiate. The insurance companies and the hospitals negotiate. Then the insurance company's rate is like, okay, half that, say $19,000. And then they'll say, okay, we covered most of that, so you as a patient, maybe you're going to pay $1,500 in the end.
Right.
And that's going to be subject to your deductible. So if your deductible was already paid up for the year, you may owe nothing, or you may owe $50. But these prices that are coming, some of these lawsuits like Casey Roberts, they're being sued over prices that you and I would never pay. And there's sort of a basic fundamental fairness question there.
Yes.
Especially when you consider that many of the people who get sued, who get these high rates, are uninsured. Often they are lower income.
Right, so they can't afford that. They
right.
can't afford the higher rate, and it's probably a struggle to cough up a $5,000
But
price tag,
I've
too.
heard from lots of people, some of them are middle class with, Casey Roberts and her husband are working people, right?
Yeah.
We've heard from people who have lots of money who've been, sued over things. So there's no way to say that you, even if you have insurance, are not somehow going to get sued.
So listen, very, very quickly, I got to ask you this. If you find yourself in this position, you are being sued, do you have any options?
So here's one thing. Look for an option like Legal Services of Alabama, a nonprofit service that helps people who cannot afford attorneys. In many states, many communities, there are these nonprofit legal services organizations. Make sure that you're, when you ask the right questions, call them, say, are you nonprofit? Do you charge anything? But there are many of these organizations around the country that can help you, and they'll go in and negotiate for you. And deal with the hospital.
A little stress off of you, for sure.
And it can take a lot of money, as we see with this. They dropped from $37,000 they were suing her for to all of a sudden now they'll take $5,000.
All right, Anna, great work. And, keep on going to that website. Tell Anna your stories, all right? Thank you.
Thanks.